Well, so I got my master's degree and I got a job doing scientific programming at Sylvania.
In the Bay Area?
In the Bay Area, which was in Mountain View. And it was somewhat interesting because I went for a job interview and they said, you know, you have this master's from Stanford in computer science. Do you know how to program in Fortran? And I said, no. And I made what probably seemed like a really obnoxious comment. I said, but I was taught that, you know, if I have the basics of programming, I'll be able to learn a new language. And they sort of went, well, we don't know if that's true. We don't know if you're going to be able to learn Fortran, but the man that ended up hiring me seemed to accept that.
And of course it was true.
I did learn Fortran, yes, pretty fast, actually. And an interesting thing that I hope does not exist anymore, but there was explicit and legal discrimination against women at that time. So I had a master's degree from Stanford in computer science. There were two men in the same group that I was in at Sylvania who had Associate of Arts degrees, that's a 2-year degree, from junior colleges. Their salaries were 30 to 40% higher than mine.
Do you remember what yours was?
I think it was $9,000 a year, which was pretty good. It was pretty good, but theirs was higher. And I asked about this, and they said, well, you're a woman, and you know it's not as important for you to have a high salary. And it was legal to do that then. The laws.
For how long?
I don't remember when the amendment came in. I mean, you probably know the story. This was an amendment. They were trying to pass a Civil Rights Act against discrimination, and one of the Southern senators, Stennis, maybe, put in an amendment forbidding discrimination against women, which everyone thought would kill the bill, but it actually passed. And people were horrified because they used to advertise jobs for women, which were usually not technical jobs, and that made it illegal. I think it was when Johnson had first been elected as president. Kennedy was killed in '63. Johnson was elected in '64. I think it was his first term.
Yeah, I think that might be right. Okay, so what was it like working at Sylvania?
Well, I don't think I was as annoyed as I should have been, first of all. So here's what I say when I talk to young people now about doing things. I say, I learned an incredible amount at that job, but it was mostly about what we might call the real world. I learned about how things operated. I learned about teams that had to put something together. I learned about how you have a project to do and you have to get it done, and you may not have time to do the absolute perfect thing that you want to do because you have to get it done. And that was my first exposure to optimization. So there's a famous paper that you know well by Fletcher and Powell, which appeared in '62 or '63. 63, and we were doing unconstrained optimization, and I read that paper, and I implemented the Fletcher-Powell, DFP as we now call it, quasi-Newton method with an accurate line search, yes, in Fortran. And we used that, and I thought, this is so interesting. Yes, it worked really well.
10 or 20 variables, something like that?
Probably fewer than that, maybe 6 or 7. But that's all we needed.
Right. And what was their business?
GTE Sylvania made, it was a lot military, not weaponry, but electronic devices, so detecting things and measuring things and so on and so forth. So they were doing a lot of simulations and using these techniques in that. So another thing I worked on, which is very funny in retrospect, was with a person who was doing automatic ship photo interpretation. So they had pictures of ships and they wanted to identify them. And we developed a method based on linear programming, which I had not learned about as a graduate student, but I learned about it from working on this problem, from reading papers, about what is linear programming and so on. I think Danzig's book is '63, so I probably read Danzig's book. And during that time, you haven't asked me this, but I became convinced that if I didn't get an advanced degree, namely a PhD, I would never get anywhere. I mean, I was enjoying myself. Sylvania had a program where I could go to Stanford and take graduate classes if I wanted to, but I thought, you know, I don't want to, I liked the fact that other people had power over what they did, and I didn't. I really worked on what I was assigned to work on.
So how long were you there in total?
I went back to graduate school in '71, so I was there 6 years.
That's quite a while.
Yes, Yes, and it was a very valuable experience. I mean, people say must have been such a waste of your time. It wasn't a waste of my time. But it's not as though I made huge technical advances.
But you have a daughter. Was that during that time?
She was born in '68, so I worked part-time for a while after she was born. But they were great about that too. I mean, I have nothing bad to say about my experience there, except for we're paying these men a lot more than you. But that was the way it was.